Good morning, Sully.
Hey, what's up, buddy?
Just enjoying this winter morning. You know, it's a little chilly.
A little bit.
It's a little cold, man.
It was 20 degrees when I woke up at 6:30.
6:30. That's a time nowadays in the morning.
You only see 6:30 p.m., right?
Yeah, and sometimes I don't even see that. How about that? No, 6:30 in the morning. Woo. No rest for the wicked, Sully, but 20 degrees is chilly.
I'm a Gruden grinder.
Yeah, absolutely you are. If there's one thing you are, let's just stick with that.
So what's your Super Bowl plans?
Well, worked the last 2 years doing laying out the paper for Super Bowl Sunday night. So I'm going to enjoy just watching the game. I want to see the commercials. That's what I'm psyched about, the commercials.
Minnick doesn't have you out and about for fan reaction at local establishments?
Not a whole lot of fan react this year.
Yeah, I guess if the Eagles or Giants were in it, maybe.
Well, if the Eagles were in it, I don't. We don't mess around with that with the Giants, but yeah. I might do some reacts anyway. I might get some reaction anyway.
Yeah, you're gonna work the Twitter feed.
Probably, yeah, probably. You know how it is now. You got to work the Twitter feed on everything, man.
Right.
I mean, if you're not tweeting, what are you really doing? That's kind of
yeah.
What could be more important than some tweets?
What's your go-to food and or appetizer for Super Bowl Sunday?
Oh boy, big question. I think for an appetizer there has to be some type of a buffalo wing dip. If not, all bets are off. And I'm leaving, find another Super Bowl party. That's what's happening.
I'm more of a spinach dip guy myself.
You can't go wrong with spinach dip, especially if it's in one of those nice little bread bowl type dealies that they have at. I guess they serve soup in it at Panera,
or a plastic football.
Yeah. Well, that'll work too, I guess.
The plastic half football.
Picky. Yeah, I'm not picky. I'll eat out of anything, but I do like the buffalo wing dip. But you bring up a good point with the spinach dip. You can't forget the crab and artichoke dip.
Oh yeah.
Layered bean dip. There's a lot going on Super Bowl Sunday. For the food, I think you have to have. I hate to duplicate myself here, but you got to have wings, right? You got to have wings.
I'll tell you what.
And you got to have pizza.
If I hear of anybody having tacos available at a Super Bowl party, I might kind of invite myself over.
Well, there's a couple stable food groups here that you can't go wrong having them anywhere. Tacos, pizza. Well, that's just about it, isn't it?
Wings, tacos, pizza. Yeah, there you go.
Wings, tacos, pizza,
and the the standard 3-foot sub.
Yeah. Now, if I opt to stay at home for the Super Bowl, which I don't think I'm going to do, but if I do that, then it'll probably be saltine crackers, water, maybe an occasional like a Werther's toffee candy that I find that maybe has been laying around for a couple of years.
Yeah, when you're a struggling sports reporter, you hope to get invited to a party so you can eat good for a day.
People don't realize dust has calories, and we take full advantage of that.
Let's talk some wrestling, man. We're getting close to districts. Team playoffs start on Monday. So what are you looking at for this week? I don't know if there's a lot of drama in these team tournaments, but what's on your radar for starting Monday?
Well, I want to say first off, aren't we grateful that they've extended this to 8 teams? So the number 8 and 7 seed teams get to wrestle against the 2 best teams in the region. That should be wonderful. But as I take my tongue out of my cheek, I'll say that I'm looking forward on Monday to Eastern and Cherokee. I'll be there. 2 rivals. They wrestled close earlier in the year. Eastern won. I think Cherokee's hungry for that. Cherokee has been very good this year. And, that should be a good one. That's 5 for Group 5. So
Yeah, Eastern's given Egg Harbor Township some fits the last couple of years.
Well, not just in softball, am I right?
Right.
But
good call out of you, Trible.
Hey, I'm always looking out, Sully. I think that EHT now should be the favorite to get to the final. I don't know that they can beat Howe. Maybe they can, but obviously the big win over the Prep this week. And then when you look forward to Southern, has Sean Boker transferred to RV. I think that's a big loss for them. And I would say EHT could do it. But EHT and Southern, certainly, if they meet in the semifinals, would be very interesting in 5. Outside of that, I think Paulsboro in 1. And, Collingswood and Haddonfield, or, maybe Cinnaminson in there competing for 2. Delty in 3. And then 4 is really kind of like a grab bag. But Kingsway's the top seed, and I think that they should probably get through.
Talking with Mark Trible of the Courier-Post. Mark, I'm going to take a little credit here for turning Josh Friedman into what he is today. But really cool story in today's Mat Pack. If you haven't picked that up yet, go find a place that carries the Courier-Post. Pick that up. Really cool story about just the burnout effect with wrestling. I mean, these kids start when they're 5, 6 years old, 7 years old, and so much pressure on them as youth wrestlers, and a lot of that comes from parents. And what was your impression? That was a really cool story about how some of these guys just, by the time they're juniors in high school, they're just kind of over it.
Well, I think that it is because there are so many outlets for these kids to wrestle year-round. And if you look at any sport, really, not to single out wrestling, any sport now, there are those options. And quite frankly, if you start young enough, it just wears you down. And I think with wrestling, it does it a little bit more physically, obviously, in terms of just having to put up with the everyday wear and tear of wrestling. But yeah, it's something that since we lost since we've grown into this era of specialization with sports, I think you see it more and more. And I think that, I don't blame a kid who says, I kind of want to, I'm done. I'm kind of done with this. I kind of want to be a kid for a year or 2 before I graduate high school.
Right.
I always say when you go through and you look at kids who are freshmen who play varsity, or maybe sophomores who are stars on varsity, and people say, wow, in a couple of years, their team, they could make it to states, or they could do this, or they could do that, because this kid, he's going to have 2 more years. Well, I would say, well, let's see what happens when the kid gets a driver's license. because at that point, maybe the kid realizes, I don't really want to do this anymore. I would rather be out with my friends, or out with my girlfriend, or go in the movies or whatever. So it's interesting. You never know how it's going to shake out.
And the thing about wrestling is it's such an individual sport, and it's such a sport where your name is so well known. I mean, if you're on a baseball team and you're in a big game, you strike out in the 3rd inning, no big deal. Your offense still has 4 or 5 more cracks at it. If you're a wrestler in a big time wrestling match and you go out and get pinned, man, the whole gym knows it's you. There's nowhere to hide. I mean, it takes a lot of mental fortitude to keep going on in wrestling as you get older.
Yeah, I agree 100% with that, Sully, and also what you see because of that is kids have an unbelievable amount of self-responsibility, and they accept what they've done, what they haven't done, what happened. I think of it now that, there's a lot of sports where there might be a kid or an athlete who, I don't want to say messes up, but maybe didn't have his best game, and it's tough to approach them about that, or maybe until a week or 2 later. With wrestlers, there's a number of kids that you can ask them the night of, like, oh, man, I saw you got pinned. What happened? And the kid will just tell you straight up, yeah, well, I didn't wrestle that well, or he was better than I was tonight. You don't really have to wear gloves to approach the subject, which is nice. But they learn a lot about self-responsibility. And you're right, there's nowhere to hide, man. If you lose, everybody knows you lost. They're going to see somebody's arm get raised at the end of the bout.
Yeah, it's definitely it's one of those sports where if you're not mentally tough, you're going to get weeded out of it for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's one of the great things about the sport, and not that the kids get weeded out that aren't strong enough, but that it creates many, many, many strong kids as they go along there.
Good stuff, Mark. As always, we're up against the break. Got to let you go, but we'll check in with you next week and see how these team playoffs shake out. Enjoy the weekend, buddy.
Yeah, you got it, Sully. You too, man.
All right, thanks, man.
All right.
That was Mark Trible of the Courier-Post. Always enjoy getting the wrestling update from him.